good?
Looking for my glasses.
Thank you. All right. I have received word that Ms. Underwood is unable to attend tonight's meeting, so as the vice chair, I will be running tonight's rules and public policy meeting for Monday, pardon me, April 14th at 6 p.m. So our first item on the agenda tonight is the comprehensive plan. Does anyone have any continued concerns or questions regarding the comprehensive plan? And I know we're already having readings on it, but we could still discuss it here in case there were any outstanding issues.
Yes,
Madam Chair.
he was first, and he was right, so
Okay.
I didn't address.
Mr. Wilson?
So I like I said, I was still just gradually been reviewing the comprehensive plan. I'm under the understanding that it's just, just a layout of what the city can do, or, some ideals or in the direction that we would like to take the city. So, I mean, I'm pretty much comfortable with what's there. I believe that we can make changes or, move in a direction that benefits North College Hill when it comes to it. But other than that, I believe that we should, move with sending it over to council.
It's already
on.
at council. We've already had a reading on it.
We did. Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
well, I'm super comfortable where it's at then.
Okay. Ms. Chichester?
Yes, Madam Chair. I spoke with a couple members of the Planning Commission. There are a few things that I am not all the way on board about, and the moratorium, that word, of halting any construction. I just want to make sure it's clear verbiage around that before we approve anything, to make sure it states anything new and upcoming and not things already in the process. It may state that, but I just would like for it to be a little more defined before saying yes on it. And
I know, is that moratorium in the comprehensive plan?
they even spoke
But it would take separate legislation to invoke that.
That's what we were talking about, is accepting the plan is making edits, maybe accepting it in stages versus saying, okay, this whole binder we're going to say yes to. Maybe say, put it in phases. This is the phase 1 of the Planning Commission plan, and then, yes, we're going to accept phase 1 of that. So that way it breaks it down for council to understand exactly what the bigger picture of that is.
Madam Chair.
I don't know that we are able to divide it. It's a package deal, but I think
That wasn't my understanding when I talked to the commission this weekend.
Okay. That was my understanding, but I guess my second thought to that is if you were in disagreement with the moratorium, that would be separate legislation that would come to council, and then you could just vote however you felt on that particular piece versus the body of the comprehensive plan.
Right. But I think we said that in the last committee that it needed to be broke down before it went to council floor. I think we stated that, but that was my understanding.
Right.
Ms.
Mr.
She was next.
In terms of the moratorium, she is correct. It is in the comprehensive plan. That's why to my understanding, that's why it's in committee, so that if you guys want to amend it, I believe Ms. Underwood just put it over to committee because she wanted you all to make a decision with the understanding that you continue to talk about the details of it in committee. You guys could amend that part of it. And then, I mean, it could be as simple as defer that until later legislation as opposed to going back, because it is a fluid document. Now, that's one thing that she decided to move it over to council floor, because it's a fluid document. It doesn't have to be followed to a T. But if there are areas where you already know that are going to be talk points, you could either amend and talk in this committee how you want it to go, or come back later. It's definitely something that I would advise you to do, because that puts, we have 4 dedications for Habitat for Humanity just this week, or I'm sorry, last week, and one before that. That will apply to them as well. And they have, these are brand new builds in NCH. Well, some of them were in Springfield Township, because you know that space where Springfield Township splits. But these are brand new builds and homeowners. So it's definitely something that you would want to look into.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Chichester?
just to add to that, I spoke with some of the staff at the Habitat for Humanity, and they're planning to do more homes in North College Hill. They have some land they would like to build on as well. I just don't want to see that home ownership progress hindered by this.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
And
Mr. Wilson?
So, again, Ms. Arias just stated, because like I said, I was under the impression that the changes can be made with this document, being that it is a fluent document. The goal is just to adopt it, have it. So, I mean, that can always be addressed. Like, we still have control of it. Saying we're just, moving it along so that way we can take other steps to get other things done, because with the hold up, holding it back and not having one, it kind of hurts in other areas that we need to have one, what I'm saying? So, just at the end of the day, I just, was under the impression and understanding that we can change whatever we needed to change in there to benefit North College Hill.
Right. But I was just, since we're having the discussion,
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Dukes?
So I agree that we could change, or you all could change the document if we went ahead and adopted it. But I also agree that if that's a point of concern, that you could address it now.
Going
You
in.
could actually
Yes, ma'am.
just amend it.
Yeah, you're right.
As simple as saying, we would like to defer this to a pause or to a later stage. And that's also the other thing that I was, with the Planning Commission. They were suggesting that if we wanted to implement some of it in stages, that we could, not necessarily that is the way that it is written out existingly, but we could change it, or you all could change it to that if you wanted, just to clarify that there is space and opportunity for some of it to be, the legislation to be written up in a way that it does it in stages. Not that you need my 2 cents, but I just think that we're here. That's something that could affect us right away. So you may want to consider that.
Miss, I'm sorry. Would you send me, email me? I said, would you email me that,
oh,
please?
Madam Chair, I do want to, I'm sorry, you didn't accept my.
Yes, Ms. Chichester?
Yes. I do want to point out that I do agree with the comprehensive plan of stating that we need a vision for our city, so we know in what direction we're going to, so that we have a master plan of what we want our city to look like, or look, in 10, 20 years, or even tomorrow. So I like accepting that part of it, so that those things can start to be set in motion. So I just want to be clear on that part, and the zoning portion of it as well. I think that needs a little more of a clear guideline of what our zoning process looks like in North College Hill, like what we want our zones for our business, like, so we can understand what type of businesses we want in North College Hill, so we could update our zoning requirements. But I think the zoning committee meets on Thursday, I believe. So that's probably, zoning commission meets Thursday?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Yes, zoning commission meets on Thursday, but that's the hearing, the second half of that hearing for the group home.
That's Wednesday.
That's the 16th, right?
Oh,
It's on the 16th, whatever day that is.
The public hearing is on,
When?
On the
it's on
16th.
Wednesday.
So they're not going to meet additionally in lieu of that.
okay.
So, Ms. Chichester, what,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but my suggestion to you would be if you want to validate that moratorium part and perhaps make an amendment to that plan,
Right.
you may want to reach out to Mr. Dieters to get the wording that you would like to see added to that and have that ready for the next council meeting, because that would have to be amended on council floor since we've already
Right.
done meetings.
I
Done
just want to
readings,
make sure
excuse
it
me.
doesn't apply to the new homes and maybe more so businesses, so that, and I would have loved to been able to, I didn't realize this was on your agenda, have someone from the zoning committee speak to that portion of it as well. So that's what my thought process was, trying to see when they were meeting again too as well. But they don't have that capacity, then that's fine. Maybe I'll just send an email to update.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. 16?
Ms. Chichester, what was your reference about the zoning commission? Or I didn't hear it.
I think there was something in the planning commission too about rezoning certain parts of development and things in North College Hill. And I wanted to be clear on that portion as well. I think that aligned with the vision of what type of businesses we wanted to see moving forward in North College Hill. For example, and it doesn't state this, I'm just giving an example. So for example, say another bar wants to come in North College Hill and we already have 20. I'm just throwing out example, is not an accurate depiction. I want to make sure that's clear. Would we want another bar, or would we want to see another type of business come to North College Hill? So that's just what I wanted to be clear at, as to when it comes to outlining the zoning and coding of what zoning of the build for that too. So that aligned with the moratorium. So that's what that was my discussion I had with the planning commission around what the ask is, what is submitted, but they all said we can amend, we could change. They just want to see us just actually have a vision moving forward of what we're going to be doing in North College Hill moving forward, so.
I know
Madam
you
Chair.
used it as an example, but as with regards to bars, there is another, I won't call it a loophole, but another leap that businesses have to take, and that's getting a state liquor license.
Correct.
And there are, I believe that approval can even come through, they send it to the city for us to have input on whether or not we would like that business to have. Because I know in the past, we've put together letters denying our
So many
our
liquor
intention.
licenses per
Yes.
city. So if a restaurant is applying, say like the one next door was like a new business coming like that one, but they need a liquor license for a restaurant or whatever, want to make sure we are clear in our expectation for the future. So that's my only ask, but I'll get with Mr. Dieters, make that amendment. I'll check with, maybe shoot an email over to them, to the zoning. And
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Susan.
So with the comprehensive plan, though, can you help me understand? I'm just trying to understand your thought process, because the comprehensive plan it's spelled out, and then there were some 12 items that the Planning Commission wanted to see in addition to the comprehensive plan, and then there is the BZA to redo the zoning for NCH. Are you speaking to portions of the comprehensive plan that identify or redefine the BZA or the zoning for North College Hill? Is that what you're talking about?
I was just speaking of it as a whole, like, okay. I'm trying to remember my conversation. Forgive me, I had several on this, and I knew it was coming up. So, the thought process around it, right? Let me just go back. Let me describe what my understanding of the vision for North College Hill and the reason for the plan was because we didn't have a clear outline or vision of what we wanted for North College Hill, right? So this just puts it all into a document, but like you said, it's a fluid document. And since we are bringing it back up in the committee, I just want to make sure that my concerns were amended or put out there so we understand that this is what I would like to see changed for that before we accept it. I don't want to just accept it as is if we can't make any,
Madam Chair, I just want to respond.
Yes, please.
So the reason I'm asking and trying to make sure that we have clarity is because the comprehensive plan kind of preempts the foundation of where we want to take the community or the city of North College Hill.
Right.
But the zoning and building would have to be changed. That's a separate document. That
So
is
it's
not
not-
in the comprehensive plan.
Okay.
And there is kind of some talk and undergirth of changing that as well.
Okay.
I assure you that.
Maybe that's what I'm collating
they're-
it to.
they
Maybe
talk
that
about
conversation went
both.
together. Yeah.
Yes, they talk about both. So I just want to make sure you know that the comprehensive plan does not include the building and zoning efforts for North College Hill. That's a separate
Okay.
kind of topic. Or it's even a separate document or set of rules.
Madam Chair.
Similar to the moratorium would be a separate document.
So,
Yes.
Yes.
okay.
Yes, sir.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. You are talking about the recommendations that the Planning Commission sent down, right?
That's not what I'm talking about.
No, I'm talking about Ms. Chichester.
Okay.
So that's what you're talking about,
So that is very separate from the topic.
right? That's
that
what I
we're-
was thinking too.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, you guys. I ran it all together.
All right.
Yeah, as far as I know, we
Yeah.
don't even have any kind of legislation written for their,
Well,
I believe it was,
I
you said
believe-
12, their 12
Yeah,
requests.
but I also believe we went to we asked the president to put it in rules and public policies because most of the recommendations that they had
Fall
falls
under that.
into rules and public policy,
Yes.
and I think that that's where it's at. So anything that they had, we will just be discussing that in rules and public policy to, make the changes, that they were asking of us.
Yes,
'Cause that's what that's what I got out of the recommendation.
I agree.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
All right, next on our agenda is the NCH Council committees. And so I spoke to Ms. Underwood about this, and apparently she received word, I guess, during the meeting that I was absent from. There was a mention from our law director that there should not be more than 3 people on a committee. And Ms. Underwood shared her concerns with me on that, in that when she was first put on council many years ago, she asked that exact question of Mr. Dieters, and she got a completely different answer at that time. So I guess I will take this a step further and say that this is beginning to sound similar to the vote of no confidence that council approved back in 2017 for the law director, where at different stages and times, we receive different answers from him. So, at this point, I didn't know if council wanted to, because we do have a line item in our budget that permits us to seek outside counsel. So the way I see it, we have a couple options. We can proceed as planned. We can proceed like we're doing now, and we have way more than 3 on every single committee. Or we can make the decision to police ourselves and go back to 3 on every committee, which means a lot of people would be stepping down. Or we can seek outside counsel for another opinion. Those are the options that I see available. I'm open to suggestions for other options.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Chichester.
what's the cost to obtaining another attorney?
I have no idea.
Madam Chair,
Ms. 16?
I would say anywhere from $250 an hour to roughly around $350 an hour, and they vary.
Madam Chair.
It's probably not more than an hour. You're going to talk to them, they're going to write you a letter and send it.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Chichester.
can we just, first, before doing that, can we just look at council rules, charter, state, and then see what the expectation is for that first before we,
Absolutely.
and then if we still don't get a clear understanding or guide to what that answer is, then then we got to take it beyond us and define, because the last thing I would want to do is continue operating in a way that's not aligned with the rules.
Madam Chair.
Give me 1 second.
Madam Chair,
1 second, please. Yes, Mr. Wilson.
So, I'm not sure about any of the vote of no confidence. I wasn't on the council when that happened. But we are paying Mr. Dieters to lead us in the direction that we need to be led. So I think that he should earn his paycheck by finding out the information that we need in order for us to move forward in a proper manner. I mean, that's what
And
we're
then
hiring
what do we do
for.
if he gives us 2 different answers?
So, like I said, apparently he's already given 2 different answers, but he's hired to lead us in the right manner. So, I'm pretty sure that he does well in his profession enough to get us the information that we need. All we have to do as clients is ask him to get us that information.
All right, so here's what I will do then. From that perspective, because I agree, and since Mr. Graver is our president of council, I will ask him to address that directly with Mr. Dieters. That,
Yes, that works for me.
Okay.
Yes.
That's an line. I just want to, before we go spending money, and
We're already,
let's say, hey, this is our ask, this is our expectation. If it doesn't deliver, then we can
they move forward.
absolutely.
I mean, we're already paying him.
all right. Ms. Dukestein,
Unless
I
we-
will say this, you all may have been in the right direction to kind of leverage other sources that are out there to kind of do a checks and balance to what you've already been told. Sometimes people's legal direction may or may not yield to you what's actually out there. So
I'm not sure I'm following you. What are you
I
trying
think
to
that
not
you-
say?
I think that you can. I think that in addition to asking Mr. Graver to follow up with Mr. Dieters, you all could continue to look in all the other spaces as guides to what you can and cannot do as it pertains to committees. And then the other thing that I was going to say prior to that comment was, it also depends on what you want to do in terms of, like, do you want to see the committees shrunk down to 3? The reason I say that is because advice was given and then reasons why that was a better way to handle things. So even if the law says, hey, you can have 5 people on the committee, do you really want to continue that? Then that's totally up to you. I'm not prodding either way, but kind of also understanding what it is that you want to do. What do you want to accomplish on these committees? Understanding what the law says is foundational, and then kind of deciding from there, how do you want to run the committees? Because I do think that it poses as a valid point that having so many people on committee almost constitutes as a council meeting. So you have to find out what those exact numbers are. That would be first. And then find out what the state says as it pertains to committee meetings, because there is an outline out there. If you can actually just pick up the phone and call, and you get an advisory board and they'll tell you. So the other thing is, what do you want to accomplish in your committee meetings? Because in some instances I have seen it beneficial for more council members to sit on certain committee meetings because they all have a buy-in, especially on hot topics like 1500, right? Then other spaces, it's presented itself a hindrance because people are going all around talking, and it really should be kind of condensed, not the same as a council meeting. So
I'm gonna move us along because we're already out of time and we've got a lot more to go.
7 minutes.
So the next thing on the agenda is the NCH logo. So I asked Ms. Underwood what she meant by this, and she said apparently she has a logo, like you can see it on this letterhead, but yet she's seen a different logo. Which one? She wants to know, where is it? She wants to know which one is she supposed to use and who makes that decision.
Madam Chair,
Yep.
that logo was changed under Ms. Iki. It's changed a long time ago. The one with the blue and green is our most recent logo. The other one is
Can you
void.
send that to all of council?
Yep.
Thank you. All right, is there any old business, excuse me, old business? New business? As far as action items, I have the action item to reach out to Mr. Graver. And I believe Ms. Chichester's going to reach out to Mr. Dieters about an amendment and, or I guess I should say potential amendment, not because it's still in works. I think that's all I have for action items. And with that, are there any other action items that I missed?
I think when it came to Mr. Dieters, are we going to just ask Mike to address it and then
Yeah.
Mike to address it with him, but also do our research to figure out, are we going to leave it to Mr. Dieters just to solely do?
I can't stop anyone from doing their own research, so I do whatever research you want to do.
No, I was just
But as
making
far
sure
as
what
the one
ask is.
voice, I want one
Right.
voice from Mr. Graver to go to Mr. Dieters.
Okay. That part I understand. I just
Okay.
wanted to see, because I know we said we were going to look at it
Yeah.
prior to, but then we don't get clarification, then we can go ahead with next.
Investigate away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
All right. And we are adjourned. It is 6:35. Ooh, by the hair of my chinny chin chin.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends, neighbors, and viewers, today the time is now 6:39 p.m. on April 14th, 2025, and you're now watching the North College Hill City Council Public Safety Committee meeting. And let's start with the agenda. First thing up, we got updates from the police department. Chief Cheney.
Morning, everybody, or afternoon, I should say, actually.
I just
It's
woke
been a
up.
long day, a couple weeks. So I gave you a couple pieces of paper. The first one, just to kind of recap, first quarter, which is obviously January, February, March, comparison from 24 to 25. The plus means we had more, so obviously you could see in 25, we've made 77 more arrests than we did in 24 for that time period. Wrote 48 more traffic citations with 89 more violations. So the difference there is a citation is just the ticket. The violation is how many violations are potentially on that citation. So sometimes you could get pulled over for, say, speed, and then you find out the driver is not a licensed driver. So we would obviously cite for the speeding and no driver's license. So that's why there's a variance there. 48 more warnings from 24. The biggest thing I think to look at is calls for service. In those 3 months, we're up 216 calls for service with a lot less people than we had in the first quarter last year. We were almost fully staffed last year. This year, we aren't even close. So that's obviously, you'll see that's a reason why we've had a lot less daily activities. When you have that increased call volume and then less people, you're going to get less of those. Plus, we had 115 mutual aid runs, so a plus 32 on that side as well, which means, going into Mount Healthy, Coleraine, Springfield Township to assist them on their run. So, extremely busy. The good news is last 2 weeks, we've been interviewing. We, for the first time in a long time, which I could say is probably a credit to our men and women, that we're kind of turning the page from where we were, that we have had a lot of lateral applicants this time. So we've actually offered 6 laterals who are in the background process. We're hoping to have at least 3 of those done by May and have them start first part of May in their FTO program. Those first 3, we kind of prioritize. They have 6 years to 2.5 years of experience, so it's not going to take us very long to get them through the FTO program. So we wanted to prioritize those 3 first to get them out on the road, and then the 3 others will be finished and brought forth after that. And then we also have 4 candidates that we're potentially looking at to send to the police academy in August if these folks don't work out. I mean, I'm saying we offered 6, but in today's day and age, I hate to say it, but there's a good chance all 6 will not make it through the background process. So we have to have somebody in the wings just in case. So, plus I gave you a second form. Cops hiring grant is going to open at the end of this month or first part of May. I'm going to work with Ms. Dukestein, Finance Department, Finance Committee. I would like to get started on this and propose that we ask for 3 officers, which would bring our total to 21 full staff or 21 full-time personnel, which then would enable me to have 16 patrolmen. So 16 patrolmen, we've got 4 squads, that'd be 4 on a squad. I can change our minimum staffing from 2 officers to 3. So that way we always have to have 3 officers on at all times. Now, if someone calls in sick or 2 people take vacation, I'll have to fill with overtime. But always to have 3 would be a lot better than our minimum staffing of 2, which you guys all understand the numbers that I've been bringing you for the last year. Our guys are averaging 15 calls per shift per officer in a 12-hour shift. That's a lot. Officer Wilkerson left us to go to Coleraine. They're super busy, but In his mind, it was less work because they run 6 to 7 officers on a shift, where we only run 2. So, those officers aren't having the call volume of 15 calls a shift. Maybe they're doing 7 or 8 because they have 5 districts. So it makes a difference in your mental health and physical health. So I look forward to working with members of the Finance Committee on this, our city manager, to try to get our numbers up to where we really need to be. Our camera system's almost done at the PD, which is good news. They're just waiting. They send us the wrong brackets for the outside camera system portion, so they're waiting on new brackets to come in. All the interior cameras are done, which is nice. Our administrative assistant started today. She has already been a breath of fresh air. We, with the new payroll system, we were having to move from Excel spreadsheet to a CSV, which I'm not a computer person, so I had no idea. And she came in and she's basically figured it out in a day. So, kudos to her in one day. The next thing I would like to talk about is I want to work with council again on introducing legislation again for the tow lot money. We took in my understanding from Jen Senna, who did the tow lot, who's now it's going to go over to the administrative assistant, but she ran it last year. We made like $70,000. And from my understanding, we've made 40 or 50 the 2 years, each year prior to that, and that money is sitting there where we could desperately use it for law enforcement functions that we need in this town. Some of the stuff, the main things we would use it for is I would like to expand our flock camera system, which currently we have 5 cameras now in the city, and it's $3,000 a year per camera, so we're at $15,000. We probably need to either double or triple that. So if we're continuously bringing in this kind of revenue, we have the revenue to support that. The flock system also has technology for shot spotter systems, which the mayor has brought to my attention that she would like to have in the city. We all know we've had, unfortunately, too many gun runs and calls for shots fired. We arrive and you can't find anything, but if we have this technology, it's going to tell us even before we get to those calls. Flock cameras now also have live feeds, so we can do stuff. I mean, there's so much benefits that we can look at expanding our system to protect our citizens. I think it's just time that we start using this money what it was truly for, law enforcement initiatives to make our citizens safer.
Mr. President?
Absolutely.
All right, Chief Cheney?
Yes.
So if you add the functionality of the shot spotter, does that add fees to your now $15,000?
I would imagine it would. I don't have that. I actually just scheduled a meeting tomorrow, like a Teams meeting with Flock, to start getting some additional numbers on what it would cost us to expand our actual Flock camera system and then to add other technology with it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Wilson.
Chief Cheney, so
Yes,
you
sir.
said you had a couple of officers coming in. Well, not a couple of, but you said 6 officers you're looking at.
Yes, sir.
Could you give me some type of background as far as what areas are they coming from? Like, I know we got officers coming out, but what are,
So we've got a gentleman from Elmwood, a gentleman from city of Ludlow, who is actually potentially could bring a canine to us, which would be a great need. Kentucky does it differently. The officer owns the dog, where in Ohio the agency owns the dog. But I've already had some discussions with other canine officers in the area that said it'd be a pretty easy fix. Kind of talked to him briefly about it. It would be like him selling the dog to us for like $1, And then when the dog retires, the contract would just state that we would sell the dog back to him for $1. And that's mainly for insurance purposes and, stuff like that. So, let's see. One gentleman is actually potentially coming from University Hospital. He's a University Hospital police officer. He's also a lieutenant at a small agency up north. He's also a professor at the University of Cincinnati, so highly qualified gentleman. Let's see, I'm trying to remember they've all ran together. Another individual is from Summit Behavioral Center. And then I can't remember them all. There was one today that was from Owensville and a bunch of smaller places, but so.
So our North College Hill pool is small. I think since I've been here, I think you appointed one member from our community. We haven't had any other members from our community in law enforcement sign up.
You have to be, primarily you have to be certified. We will put people through the police academy, but that's if we, like a last resort, because if we send them to the police academy, most of the time we're going to send them to OSP, because the only expense for us is putting them on our payroll full time. We don't have to pay for the police academy. Current police academy, if you send them to Great Oaks or Butler Tech, it's about $10,000. So we would have to find $10,000 in our budget, then put them on payroll as well. If we send them to OSP, we just put them on payroll. They live up there Monday through Friday. They get to come home on the weekends. We did send Gary Hill, who was just sworn in previously. He went up there. So fortunately, we just don't, we're a small city, 10,000 people.
Well,
people don't apply. Nobody wants to do this job. So
well, that's understandable, but I just want to make sure that we still are looking in the favor of our community.
I would love to.
I want somebody that's going to police me that know me.
I would love to. We put it out on our Facebook page. We put it on Indeed. It's just a matter of who applies. I know Ms. Chichester. Mm-hmm. Me and her actually had a conversation the other day. She informed me that her son, I can't remember which college, but she said her son just graduated from college with a criminal justice degree. I told her to come and see me if he's interested. That's a possibility. So I would love to have more folks from town, but just a matter of getting them to apply and having them qualified. So
have we had any advertisement tours?
Yeah, we did it on our Facebook page and Indeed.
Yeah.
And it's always been on our main page that we're on the city's website. So
I shared it out to, I want to say Ohio Means Jobs, Hamilton County, different organizations. We share a lot of resources, and I put that out as opportunities as well for employment for people too.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I have a question. If
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Wilson.
No, I wasn't, but I'll
No,
wait.
go ahead, because mine takes us off topic.
Okay,
So
you're
go ahead.
right. So, Mr. Chair. So, then my next question for you is, you brought up this tow lot again. So, I was on board for the first one. So we as the city are not meeting y'all needs now without the tow lot for your budget?
No, I'm not saying you aren't, but that revenue stream is something that then we wouldn't have to pull from general fund stuff. Like right now, the $1,500 or $15,000 that we spend on the current flock gets pulled from the general fund into a line item that we pay. If I'm able to use the tow lot money, which it was originally designed for, which I understand none of you guys, except I think Mary Jo Zorb was the only one on council at that time when it was created. That's what it was created for, to kind of ease the burden a little bit on the general fund for the police department. I understand we are the biggest pull from the general fund. So, and then if we get the grant and we decide to go forward with that and we add additional officers after the grant's over with, we're going to be a bigger pool. But
Well, I'm sorry. So my knowledge when it comes to budgeting and messing with the funds, I always thought the goal was to make sure that we can take as less from the general funds as possible. So if our departments and stuff are creating the funds that they need and they have the funds that they need within their budget, you know what I'm saying? And the goal is to try not to be a burden on the general fund, right?
correct.
So if you continue taking away from the general fund, how can the general fund help when it's needed to help?
Well, this wouldn't take away from the general fund
So why wouldn't it? I mean, it's
because it's
70,000
money that we bring in, and technically a big portion of the money that we bring in from that is the resale of vehicles that we take from forfeiture. That by law, we're the only ones that can spend that money because it's forfeited property.
Okay, but I'm pretty sure that the money will be spent in a direction it needs to be spent in. My thing I'm trying to figure out is what is the big deal for it to not just go into general fund? Like, why is it just can't go in general fund? And when you guys need assistance or need the money, you can't just come ask us, for that. Since it's there, since we know we got it there, that way council will be able to help when you guys come ask. We're correct?
Mr. Chair.
I would think so, but I think the point would be there's a huge sum sitting there, and then we could basically tell you probably without December's revenue coming out, because we'd have to probably estimate what December's revenue is going to be, right? Because we generally do our budgets, forecast it, right, for January to get you guys to approve it. I would be able to say, well, this year through November, the tow lot's made $60,000. Let's then take this $60,000. It goes into this line item, whatever line item we decided to put in. I would have to go and look and see what line item the actual flock comes out of now. But if we expanded flock, we wouldn't have to worry about taking general fund money. We would just have the tow lot money, which would be a revenue source every single year, constantly coming in.
Ms. Duty,
So just so we're clear on how this works, the forfeiture money belongs to the police department, period. They're getting it. That's not absorbed back into the general fund. We're not legally able to use or access those resources. That is money. Forfeitures belong to the PD department. They're getting it. They're not. So this is an expansion of the flock program and then taking the tow lot money that we're currently receiving into the general fund and giving it to the police department. As it stands, there's a split. The forfeitures go to the police and the tow proceeds go to the general fund. If council considers this, it can't be within this 25 year. It has to be considered for 26.
Why would you say
That's what
that?
I was gonna,
Because we haven't budgeted for it in 25.
I think my understanding, though, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding talking to Ms. Jackson, that the money that we've collected the last 3 years has never been touched. It's not even moved out of that. It's still
Is that
in.
the forfeit? Are you talking about Ms. Anderson?
Yeah, Ms. Anderson,
Are
sorry.
you talking about the forfeiture money?
All the tow lot money, from my understanding, is sitting in an account and it's never been touched.
But the forfeitures belongs to you. We cannot
Correct.
legally take the money.
Correct. So we would have to,
That's
so the
lawful.
other portion that we do make is there's a $25 storage fee per day. And then $175 for tow, but we have to pay that back to the tow company. Now, we are rewriting our procedures on it, so we're gonna actually charge some additional fees that other agencies who have a tow lots charge for to expand. I don't mind coming, that's why I want to work with council. I don't mind working with council and saying, hey, look, we'll give you a portion of it. I understand
But
part of
it's
the lot.
not yours.
Yeah, we can't take a portion.
You can't look at it like
The
that.
service
President.
fees
Mr. President,
portion,
I was-
you might be able to.
I've been waiting.
But I think, to be clear,
Mm-hmm.
this is a conversation that should happen in a different forum. Because you have to get first and foremost, if we're doing this, we're have to do it in 26. It's not a 25 option. Now, the 2025 forfeitures and all of the forfeitures before that, if we need to look at that account and make sure that the police department has access to include that in their budget, that's rightfully so because it belongs to them. But we have to do a forecasting, as he was saying, not just for the police budget, but also for the general fund to see how it's going to impact. That's the whole point, making sure that we are doing what is right across the board, not just for PD, because it is true, PD depends on the general fund currently at 54%. So let's look at that across the board. Other police departments in other cities do not lean on their general funds at that rate of absorption. We have to get them back in a safe zone. Other cities lean on their general fund account at 34%. There are some things that we can do towards the end of the year and eventually get to that. I don't disagree with moving towards that, but we have to get our police department in a range that is absorbent on our general fund at a safe pace. 54% is large. It is a huge space of absorbency. So I wish we had this conversation outside of this committee, because it can't just be whether you guys think that it should be. It has to be whether or not this is a safe base for our general fund for the forfeitures. Part of the issue, if what Chief Cheney is saying is true, and I do believe him, is that forfeiture money is not coming back to them in a way that it should. And that's probable. It's probable. One, because the city administrator spot was vacant for so long, and then there was some turbulence with the finance manager. And so how those funds should be poured back into them probably needs to be looked at. I can put that on my to-do list. However, if you are considering, and I'm not sure if you're asking for this, Chief Cheney, the change would be we need to start looking now because we'll start the budget for 25, or I'm sorry, 26 in July.
Yeah.
So we need to start looking at the health barometers for PD, the health barometers for general fund, and making sure that this is a feasible change. And it's not because I don't want them to have any resources. It is because we need to make sure everyone's healthy across the board. And 54% is a large amount of money.
Mr. President,
I think that's pretty standard, though.
Mr.
It's
President.
not.
Okay.
I remember as
Ms.
a budget and
Chichester,
finance chair.
I got Ms.
It's
Chichester,
not.
Ms.
I
Zorb.
don't know where you got those numbers, but 34% is where the police department leans on most cities' budget.
Real quick, Mr. Wilson. Hey, can I get 5 minutes out
It
of your meeting so I can finish this discussion?
I don't have a meeting. My
Cancel
meeting
this
was
meeting.
canceled.
Oh, okay. Oh, in that case, Ms. Chichester.
So, two things referring to the toll lot. I feel like council had this discussion before when I wasn't on council about the toll lot. And I thought there was a decision of why myself, meaning our council, made a decision to keep it in the general fund. So I would have to refer back to see what the reasoning behind that was. Or do you recall, Ms. Dixon? or
We put
Chief?
a ordinance out to put the funds to us, and it was voted down by council. That's what I'm
Did
saying
we
is
explain?
to
But I'm just trying to
re-
figure out the
revisit
why.
that and do it again.
Well, I want to understand why the reasoning for voting it down. I'm not saying it shouldn't be, but I'd like to revisit the understanding. I think it might have come with a time where things were topsy-turvy in our city. And
absolutely.
it probably was not,
I think it was last September, if I'm correct. Mary Jo Zorban, can you remember if it was, I think it was,
Actually, it was a meeting that I wasn't, it got voted down at a meeting that I was not
yeah,
in attendance.
it was either
so
August or
I didn't vote
September.
on it.
I can't remember exactly when.
I thought
But
maybe it was this spring. That's what I was.
So,
But I do know this, I immediately reached out to you and asked you if you wanted me to bring it back. And at that time, you had told me no. So I'm speculating.
Well,
that-
because it's the end of the year, I would just,
Well, let's do this. Let's figure out a healthy way to
Sin-
figure out what needs to go to the
To-
police department.
sorry.
No.
You asked me a question. If I can address it, I will.
Sure.
First thing is, it's actually a budget and finance issue.
Right.
And so it should go over there, not safety. The second thing is, it was, and I think there was some misunderstanding. Originally, I think Chief Sharan indicated to the PD department that if we went forward with a tow lot, those proceeds would be theirs. And that's not his decision to make. And so it's just kind of ballooned into this idea that the tow lot proceeds belong to PD. And that's not necessarily how that works. That's a decision that the city has to make in the best interest of the entire city.
So
Here's why you have to make a decision as it pertains to the city. If there is no city, there is no PD department. The city supports the PD department. The PD department makes sure that the city is safe. So it's a reciprocal relationship. Everyone needs to be financially healthy. We have to make a decision that it makes sure everyone is financially healthy. It isn't the city trying to scave off of the PD department or vice versa. I don't think that they're trying to misuse city funds in terms of the general fund either. I think that the decision that has to be made is to look at hardcore numbers and make a decision forward. I'm not opposed or against looking at the numbers to make sure that it makes sure that they're healthy and that we're healthy.
that's what I was going to suggest, and I was
Davis,
going to
I believe
ask
I was
Mr.
next.
Yes.
I've never, I said I had two, and I never finished. She answered one. I was just going to ask if, since we're spending so much time on this, if we can move it over to Budget and Finance Committee on the next month's agenda, then we can give update and answer some questions around this, so that way we can accurately make
right.
informed
And
decisions.
that's the only reason why I brought it up is to
Mr. Davis,
start working together and not,
are you okay with
Yeah, I'm
that?
fine with that.
And my other point, I was going to ask question for Chief Cheney, was going to say, I know it doesn't solve staffing problems, but could we possibly, or what is your thoughts behind creating maybe a Citizens on Patrol for our neighborhood?
I mean, we used to have it, Citizens Police Academy.
Officially,
Yeah, it used to be
So-
something, and quite honestly, that would be something that we'd probably put in with the NRO and their responsibilities to do stuff like that. So,
So we had a neighborhood watch program, and actually Matt Wallert and
yeah,
Frank Petroselli ran it.
so,
Mr. Davis,
Yeah.
can we have that at the next committee meeting? What would it take to start those?
Okay.
Citizen on Patrol and, what, I'm sorry, what did you say? The block watch, or what did you call
like
it?
block watch type,
Neighborhood
yeah,
Neighborhood watch.
yeah.
And maybe we get some citizen volunteers to sign up, and I'm sure there's some type of training. And this is a volunteer, not paid
Correct.
situation. Right. I just want to make sure that's clear.
Yes.
Ms.
We are
Ms. Orr.
10, all
Wait,
right.
please let me get to my statement. So, a couple of things. So what I'm hearing is we have to protect the general fund, but if this tow lot money is going into the general fund and then just sitting there and not being used, then the whole thing is just
I didn't confirm that.
wishy-washy.
I did
Well,
not.
I believe Chief Cheney did.
But he did
but-
not. I
So-
have
So
not.
there's two different buckets here, though. There's the tow lot bucket and then the forfeiture bucket. And the forfeiture bucket is black and white, they get it. But the tow lot, at least in the way the tow lot was originally sold to council was that it would be a self-sustaining, because it takes officers' time, it takes just a lot of their resources to go down and deal with it. And so that was part of the offset of council buying into the whole justification of the tow lot to begin with, was to have them retain that money and actually lessen their burden on the general fund.
But that,
Please let me finish. The other thing that I want, what I think I heard in there, Chief Cheney, is that you're paying the tow trucks. So if you're not getting the tow lot money, but you're paying for the tow trucks out of your budget,
Well, we do get
you're
the
working
tow.
at a deficit.
We do get the tow lot, so I should probably have worded that better. So when someone comes in to retrieve their car, they do have to pay for the tow. We just then reimburse the tow company. So we get the money and then send it back to them.
Okay.
So that portion we're even with. So then what the profit is the $25 a day storage. And currently that's the only fee we have. We're working on redoing it, so there'll be some other fees, like some administrative fees, fees that we never, quite frankly, when it was started, they never thought to charge. But working with Coleraine and some other agencies to look at how they are running their tow lot to make improvements to ours, to make sure we were doing it correctly. Because I understand that was one of the issues before. They wanted to make sure that we were doing it correctly. So I was like, okay, well, we could fix that. We'll just work with other agencies and make sure we're doing it right. That's one good thing about the administrative assistant. She comes from Coleraine. They have the exact same system as us. So it's an easy transition for her to get ours up and running properly. And I'm sorry, what's the other part?
Just, I don't know, how the money's sitting there is just bad.
So that's, I could
Mr.
be wrong, but
President.
I understand that's
Yes,
what
ma'am.
I was told last year, that funds have never been touched in that line item. Now, I could be wrong, maybe something, but that's what I was told last year when we were going through the process of asking for it, that money had never been touched.
So there's one thing
Ms.
that in
Dukes.
my mind is that I see as similar to the fire department and the
Not similar.
EMS funds and the police department and the tow lot funds. So the EMS funds goes straight to the fire department, as it should. And the tow lot funds is all the PD, so those funds should go to the PD. That's how I see it, but apparently I'm
Mr.
one
President,
of the few.
I understand what you're saying.
not agreeing or disagreeing, Ms. Zorb, all I said was since we are really pressed for time, let's move the topic to Budget and Finance Committee. And if there are any questions ahead of time, I say this all the time, send them so we can clarify, we can get answers, we can review them at the meeting, and we can provide clarification, because I'm not agreeing or disagreeing. I'm just saying we can't figure out what's what in this amount of time, so.
And I apologize. Maybe I probably shouldn't have brought it. I'm just trying to give you
No, it's a
the
concern.
vision of what my thought process is for this agency. You know, increasing staffing, increasing the technology that we have that we can use to better ourselves. So I probably should have brought it up differently.
No,
And my
no.
intention was not to like, hey, let's vote on this now, is to basically say, I want to work with you guys, not like how it was before and just say, hey, this is how it's going to be. No, I want an understanding between all of us so we know what we're doing, and then I can go back to my folks and say, hey, we've got a plan. This is the outline. This is what we're doing.
Okay.
That was the only reason I bring it up, to work with you folks
All right.
on that to fix it.
Yeah, Ms. Dukes, anything else?
yes, so I do think it's wisdom in what Chief Cheney is saying. That it is a work forward and to reach the right spot. But the money, as it pertains to the money sitting in an account, is very much like, you can't take for granted that it's very much like the money that comes to us from Waterworks on behalf of the garbage collection comes in one account. The money that is paid out to handle all of those same costs comes out of another. This is the same as that. It is not. That's why it appears as though at the end of the year, it's just sitting there. And there was probably not follow-up conversations to clarify that. And I wasn't trying to be snide or smart aleck when I said I didn't confirm that. I was just dealing with the fact that I know it comes into one space and it goes out of another. So it looks like to you all, it should be a clear wash, but that's not exactly how it works for accounting purposes. The other question, the other kind of swirling comment is it is the same as the EMS money. The portion of the EMS money garnered by legislation, ordinance, law is going to them in the same way that forfeitures would go to them. Other additional proceeds don't go to fire department, just like in this case, other additional proceeds at this time have not been considered to go to them. The forfeiture should. If the forfeitures are sitting there and it's not being released to them in a different spot, which is what I wrote down to confirm and talk about when we bring it back up, then that is a wrong and we need to fix that. But I'm not sure if that's the case. Just because the money's sitting there doesn't mean that it's not going back to them from a different space. Again, it's that balance like this. It's one account in, one account out. That is what the state requires. So I just wanted to clarify those points. We can move it over. I'll come back with a little bit more research to support how we need to move forward. But I think the key is making sure that our minds stay in this space of everybody needs to be stable. That's it.
Alrighty, thank you. And let me, any other questions, sir?
Did you want to go over, we spent the
Right,
entire
I want to
time
I want to
on
get to the
PD.
fire.
Did you
Yeah, to
wanna-
the,
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, really quickly from Chief Plackey's March activity report, 212 incidents, 9 actual fires, 155 rescue and EMS calls. The North College Hill Fire Department remains in the 90th percentile for response times, and we're currently awaiting the legislation for the need to renew the fire levy, awaiting legislation to place a retired fire apparatus up for auction, and the 2024 ambulance is undergoing transmission replacement covered under warranty, and as has been discussed, the fire department and the police department are working together on the generator. Now, we don't have any updates from Public Works, except I'm aware that that hiring and interviewing is still going on for a new Public Works chair. I believe that is still posted on Indeed in the city website, correct?
I'm sorry, Public Works?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I paused on, yes, it's still posted.
Okay. And one last piece we'll skip new business for next time around. But one last piece, old business. Last month we attempted to apply for the violence reduction grant. Could you tell me what happened when it came to that?
There was just not enough time to get all the documentation ready for them. It was a very extensive grant and what they needed. I think it was only like a 10-day period. We probably need weeks to work on that. So part of being part of Lexipol, when we joined that to do our policy updates, is they continuously send me grant information. So if we work on going forward with the COPS grant, they actually just sent me something else about an additional grant that would actually have to apply from our school, but it's like school safety.
Right.
But the school district has to apply for it. I can't, or the city can't.
Okay.
So we're constantly getting updates on what grants are out there for us.
But now, when in regards to that one, it came to you with some work already done.
Correct.
Done
It was
toward
just,
that.
yeah, you did a phenomenal job. It was nothing what you did. It was just, we didn't have enough time to go forward on it. But with this being in the new system, I'm sure we'll be notified when it comes around again. And when the COPS grant doesn't open until the end of April, first part of May. So, but they've already notified us. Obviously, I gave you part of the paperwork on what they're projecting it to be. So when I get notified of that, I'll call you up, Mr. Davis, and we'll sit down and we'll work on it and we'll knock it out together. So
Need anything from council for this?
I guess basically just start working with the finance thing, making sure you guys are on board with it. I mean, because as you see, it's only covers
Mr. Chair.
75% of each officer for 3 years. And then the fourth year, you have to keep the officers on staff for the additional year. So will be additional cost at some point to the budget. Obviously, initially, it's going to be a cost to the budget. So one, we have to make sure that it's doable. And then if we find out it is doable, then jump on and apply for it. So,
All right. Ms. Gaston?
Yeah, I just have one question as it relates to the generator. So you guys are looking at a generator that would work with both buildings.
correct. So we've had 2 meetings. We actually had one today. So it looks like it'll just be one generator, but they're going to have to, because there's 2 main, I don't know what you call them, main lines coming in. Fire department has a main line. Police department has a main line for power. They have to, there's going to have to be some kind of splitter or junction box to connect those. This is not going to be a cheap project. I can tell you that right now.
Got it.
So we're looking at 2 different options. Natural gas, which would then cause us to have to get with Duke. We'd have to run a gas line to that, so it would be continuously. Or the other option, which would be a little cheaper, would be a diesel generator, which would just have a big tank on it. I said it would probably be about 48 hours continuous run. And that's before it would be empty. So that would be pretty easy to take care of. If we knew we had 48 hours, we'd be able to just schedule, all right, we've had it on since 1 o'clock Friday. It's 5 o'clock on Saturday and we're still no power except to run a generator. We need to call and get a delivery of diesel fuel. So that wouldn't be a big deal, but it is the cheaper option.
Yeah, yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Yes. Yeah, Mr. Wilson?
I got a question for Chief Chaney.
Okay.
Oh, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Chief,
Yes.
so besides the standard over at the building and stuff that y'all guys are looking at as far as putting in the generators, have you guys considered putting the generators over in at 1,500? Like you guys coming over to 1,500?
So we did discuss a preliminary with them that if the building's moved, they can actually move the generator. So the generator could go with us.
Okay, so I'm just saying that you haven't had any conversation about moving. I'm just saying.
I
Since
mean-
you've been going through the program, going through the process. Have you been having any conversations about moving?
I think I've made it clear that if 1,500 is rehabbed, that I would love to take the back portion of classrooms and everything else and make that into the police department, because we are running out of room.
I'm just saying. So with that being
So
said,
I think-
have you thought about it? Like, hey, let's just say. I'm saying you already telling us that you already had an ideal plan as far as what it's going to take to get them generators over there at y'all location right now, for the fire department and the police to be able to share that to make that happen. But okay, we got that on the table. We already know that. But have we looked at the other side of the table? As far as moving all together, like, boom, what it will cost us if we move. Would it be cheaper for us to get it put in, with the renovation and everything else? I'm just saying, have you been able to look at
Well,
that
I guess
angle?
we would have to, 2 points on that. One, I guess we would have to decide ultimately where fire is going to go. If fire stays, just in reference, say if police move to 1,500 and fire stays there, obviously they would need that generator. Regardless of what happens at 1,500, if we don't go there as a police department, if it becomes the city center and everything else, it's still going to need a generator, because in my opinion, we would need, if power was out like we had a couple months ago, we would want a nice place, safe place where if people are medical or whatever, that would be able to go and be in the air conditioning or heat. So that building's going to need a generator regardless. So just an additional cost. But if we're rehabbing it, it probably wouldn't be, I mean, it's just something you throw in the rehab cost.
All right. All right. Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay. Now, one more thing. This is less new business and more a question. So College Station is currently getting built across the street, and obviously we have Frickers next door. Currently, North College Hill does not have a DORA district. That's called a designated outdoor refreshment area. That's basically for if you can carry beverages from one establishment to another establishment in a certain district. With these two places being across the street, it feels as if that'd be a fine area to consider such a thing. And so I'm wondering, is that something we like to look into or look at going forward?
Mr. Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
So I've attended a couple of planning commission meetings, and I know they have talked about putting that in, or requesting it or whatever, starting the process, whatever it takes.
So for just saying it in general, or for them or for Goodman Avenue specifically.
Goodman specific.
Okay.
But I believe the one thing that they were concerned about and needed to look into further is because there's childcare.
Oh, okay.
So they were going to look into what restrictions are there, what there are around that. I don't know how far they got on that. I don't know if they found something and let it go. I don't know. But I know they were talking about it. You might want to reach out to.
Right. I gotta go to the next planning and see.
Mr. President, I'm
Yes, ma'am.
sorry, I didn't hear your question.
So so you've heard of a DORA district, a designated outdoor refreshment area, and I was just wondering with College Station, it's going up across the street with Frickers next door. It feels like this will be a perfect place, a perfect area for such a district. And I was just wondering, like, and I was just while we had a few minutes, what was the committee's thoughts on such a thing? And the other question I've been asked, so in regards, this is more of a public works question, in regards to the two white vans that are behind 1500. Now, are those still the city vehicle? Are those running, or what's the status on those?
White vans?
Yes, ma'am.
It's actually
Senior vans.
Oh, yeah, those are not. I mean, they are ours, but they're for senior use.
Okay.
And then I just wanted to reloop, what did Ms. Zorb say about she said the daycares were the reason why they couldn't?
I just know that the planning commission has spoken about creating a DORA district, and then they mentioned that there's a daycare. So they didn't know what the restrictions were within where a daycare could be with a DORA district closed. They were going to look into it. That's all
Mr.
I
Chair.
Yes, Mr. Wilson.
So yeah, I got word the daycare is no longer there, y'all.
Oh, it's not?
Yeah, it's gone. Yes, that's what I said.
It did shut down then.
Yeah,
but,
it's
but
not
I
there.
can look into it and come back with you all.
Yeah,
with
I'm just
more
letting you
concrete
know,
answers.
yeah, it's
Because
not
actually,
there.
with the daycare being absent, that might be
Change
a
the game,
possibility.
yeah.
Might change the whole.
Right. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Do we know if College Station has a liquor license?
The last time I checked, they applied for it and it was still in the pending status. So I didn't. So that's something that I'll absolutely look into. It won't be now because my computer's at 3%, but I'll shoot you an email and let you know if I've seen anything different.
All right.
Okay. And with that and with my computer about to die, the time is now 7:28 p.m. and this concludes our public safety meeting for April 14, 2025. Thank you.
We have a packed agenda.
The top sheet is all we give because the other ones have account numbers.
Sorry, we had a question from the audience.
And that's not public information.
All righty. So the first thing, I sent this out electronically to you guys on the agenda, is the fire levy intent. What'd you say? He's coming. Sorry, I didn't even notice. I saw,
That's why I was like, where'd Mr. Wilson go?
we're waiting for him, I guess.
No, you can go ahead.
Okay, well.
You have 3.
All right, so we have the fire levy intent. I sent out the documents over there on it for you guys to review. There's 3 parts to this. So this is our first part in order for us to review it, ask questions, in order to get it on November ballot. But I think we have a deadline of, my brain is frozen. It's
April
buffering.
5th.
April
5th.
5th?
I'm sorry.
May.
August 5th.
August.
Yeah, yours
I
frozen
said it
too.
confidently too, sorry.
August 5th is for all 3 stages, though.
Yes,
Yes,
August 5th
yes.
is of our all 3.
So reviewing all 3 stages, getting it to council floor. And because I know in June, we go to 1 a month for summer session. So we're gonna have to be mindful of making sure we're getting that by our deadline.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Dukestein.
so I would like to just petition council to, Ms. Zorb is correct in that all 3 phases of this have to be complete by August the 5th. If you guys suspend no readings and just let this process go through, we will be fine time-wise. However, we need the millage to add to the second piece of legislation, which we're not at the point yet. So last time this got kicked back to talk about in discussion again because we were looking at the other piece of legislation which talks about the necessity for it, and that's the actual final step. This piece of legislation that you're looking at now is talking about the intent. And so once this passes, I have to send this signed copy down to Hamilton County, and they will respond to that with a millage that has to be attached to that next step. So in order to help citizens understand the impact when they vote in November, I think we should probably get ahead of advertising. So we don't want to wait until August to deadline to get this going or approved, which is why we started on it relatively fast. So we did have a delay by 1 month because we needed to come back to this. So I just want to you all to be mindful when you're thinking about this, even though the time deadline isn't until August the 5th. We want to get it pushed through as quickly as possible so that we can let the citizens know the impact.
Madam
Because-
Chair, go ahead. I'm
One last thing, because the millage significantly went up. So, okay, that's all, sorry.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Alexander.
we're talking about the fire lever, correct? It took me a minute to get my computer up.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
I did have a question. Some of the spaces that have the yellow lines, I understand some of them are dates and things of that nature. But the yellow spaces that are dollar amounts, what exactly does that represent, and how much is this, what is that dollar amount going to be?
So this is just the intent, and the other document had the exact numbers on it for, remember last meeting, we had to kick it back because I started with the second document instead of the
Okay.
first document.
Okay.
So-
No, this document actually has a dollar amount on it, so that would be what we previously had, which is, it's the millage that we had on the
Right.
levy, the existing levy, the one that was still within, the levy doesn't renew till 2026. And so this will show the value of that. And then once they pull the actual numbers, which is the step that happens in between the two pieces of legislation, you will be able to see the intent based on our current levy. And then they will use this levy to pull the millage, and then they will attach that new millage on the necessity piece of legislation. And then you all will be able to talk about that and move that to council floor as well.
So the dollars will then be, this won't be.
They won't be changed from anything. This, what will be on this document, they will not be changed from anything that is already existing. This is the intent.
Okay.
So it'll stay the same.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Wilson.
So, if I'm correct, it was stated that this is just an intent to renew the current levy.
That's
so,
why.
So nothing changes. We're just
Nothing changes.
Yeah, nothing changes. We're
But I just
just.
heard you say the millage changed.
So the millage does change. So the property, yes, it does change. But the intent is based on the current levy.
Right.
We have to show them legally that council is in agreement with going forward with intent. As information, we do know that our millage has changed. We do know that that number will change on the second half of the piece of legislation.
Right.
So that's when you will see the difference. The numbers on this piece of legislation,
Thanks,
the one that we're talking about is intent. So that's why one says intention and one says necessity, because the necessity is built on actual numbers. I talked to Hamilton County very extensively. They cannot and will not give numbers until this
It's
has
done.
been met. This has to be based on what is current.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Zorp.
so I'm still confused about something.
Yes.
So, you're saying the millage is going to change or the money collected will?
The money
Will change.
collected because the
Okay.
millage changed. I'm
If
sorry,
the-
the millage of the levy is the same, but how that is collected
you.
is based on the numbers.
Because
that-
if the millage changes, it's not a renewal.
Absolutely, right. You're right.
Okay. All right.
No, sorry. Any more questions about this fire levy?
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Never mind, I'll ask it later.
No, Ms. Gaskins, go ahead.
No, I think I just answered it in my head. I'm good.
I
I'm
know
good.
I do that all the time. Okay, so we're good. We're gonna move on to the city salt contract.
Are you moving this to council then?
Yes, we have to do, yes.
I-
So
I didn't
asked-
hear you ask council, that's why I'm clarifying.
I looked at everyone, I said, are we clear? I thought I said that. Sorry. Do you want to discuss more? No, we can. If you have questions, I'd rather we discuss it now than
My
wait in
only question
council.
is the terminology.
Okay.
So is it clear means we're sending it to council floor? That's all.
Yeah, you had to
Yeah.
say we're moving it to
Oh.
council
Yeah.
floor.
Sorry, you guys. If there's no further discussion, we can move this to council floor, correct? So, okay. And I think we need to sign. Nope, never mind. I'm moving ahead of myself. All righty.
Question.
Yes,
The
ma'am.
question popped up in my head and I'm unclear. And this is just a simple yes or no. Maybe Ms. Dukesteins can answer this, but the fire department is on board with this, right?
Oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
they need it.
Yeah, sounds good.
Without this levy, they can't function.
I think he came to a meeting prior and discussed. And then he's going to come back after we
forward
move
with
it all
intent.
together to
He-
do his blessing and give, so, but we have to do our work and before I bring him in and discuss anything, so.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Dukestein.
he's waiting on this piece of legislation to pass so that he can push out more efficient, kind of a one-pager to the community.
Okay,
So, yes, they're eager
Very.
to see this on the ballot.
cool beans. Thank you.
All righty.
Sorry, Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms.
One more,
Dukestein.
just
you're
as a
fine.
point of clarity, in section 1, If you look midway down the page, it actually says commencing with the levy on the tax list and duplicate for tax year 2026 for the first collected in calendar year. And then in that section 1, it talks about the question of renewing the existing levy. So that means that the language in this is that the levy as it exists will renew. So that's the reason why the numbers are the same.
My only point in asking, because you were the one saying that the millage was changing, and if the millage changes, then it's not a renewal.
Not the millage of this. So the millage on the piece of levy doesn't change, but how the millage is calculated based on the home ownership values going up, which is all in there. So bad language, right concept. On my part, sorry.
Alrighty. Sorry, I'm trying to watch our time, you guys. Let's move on to the city salt contract. And this is sensitive as well with time constraints. Ms. Dukestein, remind me what's the due date on this one? Because I want to move this one to council floor if council all agree.
It's May.
May 2nd.
So it has to be approved on our next council meeting. And we just really, Ms. Zorb had asked us about it. Braden and I both checked into it. They had not extended a process for us to even enter into a bid yet. They released the numbers. They were kind of late on their dispersion this year. So as soon as Braden saw the email come through, we were able to get the legislation filtered through Bill, and now you have it in the committee meeting. But we'll have to pass it quickly because we need it by May.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Wilson?
I mean, this is the contract for the, to replenish the salt that we already use, correct?
I want to make sure I'm understanding your question. This is the contract for the salt. This will be to purchase our salt for 2026.
Okay, so this will be to buy additional salt, or would this be replacing the salt that was used
Both.
this year?
We didn't use it all, but we
Okay.
do buy more salt. Yeah, we need more salt. Replacing, and sometimes we buy more.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Council has any more questions? Okay, are we okay to move this to council floor for the next meeting on April, 21st?
Yes.
Yes.
That's our next meeting, on
Yes.
for the 21st. Awesome. So I will be moving the fire levy and the salt contract. And let's move to the next legislation on the agenda is the pumper sale for the sale of the city-owned vehicle no longer needed for municipal purposes. And they have the VIN number and everything on there. Does anybody have any discussion behind that or need any discussion behind that?
And I just want to clarify the VIN numbers on there relative to the actual truck, but the engine is what they're selling. The shell or casing, they're just selling the engine because the engine's still good. And this is to put it on, it's not like a flat sale. They're not putting it out there. It has to go up for auction. And so this is permission to enter into that and it's a place where we auction off municipal items. And this is appropriate for this kind of item. So the engine itself is attached to the VIN number is attached to the whole truck, but they are only going to auction off the engine. And this also needs to be passed immediately. This was one that I'd ask if we could kind of skip executive session and talk about it on council floor. But the decision was to come to the Budget and Finance. They probably asked me about this 2 weeks ago.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Stewart.
do we I don't think I saw it. Do we have the exact legislation for this?
I sent it in the email. I sent
It
all the
was in there?
legislations in all the emails. Yes, ma'am. Just because I had like 8 attachments and it's
Yeah, I
for,
must not have scrolled far enough.
It
It's called
is-
resolution
I found it,
authorization
yep.
sale. Okay.
I get, where I'm trying to go with that is,
Mm-hmm.
are the funds going back to the FD? Are they going to the general fund? Does it state that?
The general fund purchased this truck, so they'll come back to general fund. It belongs to the city of North College Hill, not the fire department. They just use our equipment.
Well, I mean, this fire department is City of North College Hill.
Yeah, but you asked specifically like general fund. I was trying to quantify it for you. But we did talk about that. I mean, if they want, I mean, it's not a big deal, really. We were gonna see what they need, what their needs are, go from there. But as it stands, it's slated to go back to general fund.
Any other questions around the sale of the truck, engine, or whatever? Guys, all clear, so where we'll be moving that legislation to council as well. All righty, let's get to the nitty-gritty, the month-end report for February. Ms. Anderson is not here tonight, so Ms. Dukestein will be presenting for that. And I sent that document as well electronically. Oh, and Ms. Dukestein printed some things out for you guys too as
I
well.
printed out the documents that were attached to the email. If there are any questions, I can answer the questions. Ms. Gaston did ask for a report with fund lines. I'll follow that up in an email as well. She asked for that today, so.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Gaston.
I just wanted to clarify that with everything that we have here, I just want to make sure that I completely understand what's all going into this, what's restricted, what's not restricted, so that we can get to the bottom number. So hopefully we can get that. And I would appreciate that clarification, but thank you.
So,
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Gaston, I'm sorry, Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Dukestein, go ahead.
even if I gave you the amounts for, which I don't, that's transparency, it's no issue. You may not always be able to see what's restricted and what's not. You'll just see those fund lines and see the balances in those fund lines. And then you can, if you're looking to like specifically see how much is in only general fund, you can see that. So in terms of balancing though, and I keep making sure that you guys understand this, it doesn't frustrate me to be transparent and for you to understand that we're balancing. That's a part of something that we need to do for the state and for audit purposes. And you all have to be accountable with administration to make sure that we're balancing. So when you're looking at the Fifth Third statement, you see the beginning balance. That's where we were at the beginning of the month. And then you see the ending balance, which is what you see at the end of the month. And then the end of month, this EOM sheet, end of month is what that stands for. And then you see the same numbers on there, and then you see this. This represents our software. This kind of it's actually a spreadsheet, but it's numbers that have come directly from our software, and so this is Authority Finance or Finance Authority, sorry. And then you see that at the top, the $8,027,847.91. So you want those numbers to match what's on the Fifth Third statement. And so one is a software entries that are made by our finance department, the clerk and the expenses and everything coming in. And then one is the actual bank statement. You want what a balanced book looks like is your finance, what you're keeping record of on paper, like your ledger, to match what's in the bank. And so the breakdown that Ms. Gaston's asking for is what are the fund lines in between that big number? But at the end of the day, And I'm fine to provide that, but I'm just trying to make sure that you know what you all should be looking for. You should be looking for the software and the actual cash dollars to match. If you want a more in-depth, kind of line by line breakdown, she's asking, hers is also very general. She's asking for fund balances. Those are like big buckets. You'll be able to see fire, police, public works, and then to see with those. But the reason we don't provide that at this juncture is because there's no way to look at that and look at the bank statements and say it's balanced. What that helps you see is what amount of money is in those specific buckets. And that's fine if you want that. But in terms of balancing at the end of the month, that's what we're trying to do here.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Gaston.
The only reason why I'm asking for that is because I think there's a little bit of confusion around when people hear, oh, we have 9 million, so if we can better help explain it to those who are asking us these questions.
That's
that'd be
fair.
great.
That's fine. I'm okay to provide. I'm never frustrated about asking for documents. I just want to make sure that you know what you're asking for and what we're responsible, because I think there's kind of, at least this is my perception, is that the end of month, we're not giving you enough to decide if the city is in balance or not. And I'm saying this is in balance, this is what you need. But if you have any more spaces where you'd like to look under with a microscope, please ask. I'm happy to provide.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I'll tell you something that I'm just looking at this, what I always ask every month, and you all have not asked this, but I'll provide it, is like, it looks like, oh, wow, the balance is shrinking. We were at 9 million in there. So one of the things that happens is, that I understand, is that we get our RETA income taxes, and we also get our property taxes. Those come to us in big lump sums. Also, we get the money we're paying out. This is kind of that balance. We pay out to Rumpke what is owed to them on a quarterly basis, and then we collect at a different rate. And so we are spending away, but then we're replenishing only in July. So we get a big dump from RETA in July, and then we'll get our property tax. So that's kind of why. So if you kind of wrap your head around what you should be looking for, those things throughout the year, that's kind of why we see our Hinkle having to, we start working on the Hinkle and the next year's budget in July, because now we're receiving some of that. It's like every organization, have that coin phrase, Black Friday. Black Friday is that day in the year where most companies run on red and then they hit black. So our month for that kind of balancing out where we'll see more resources is in July, because we start to see some of those funds that are coming in for this year. And that one is by RETA, property tax, and those things. So when you see it shrinking, we are spending, but we're not spending outside of the budget, which is why I'm kind of protective to say, hey, if we haven't budgeted for that, let's think about it and let's put it in next year's budget as opposed to absorbing, so we can look at it as a macro level across the board and making sure that we can afford the things that we are spending on. We just don't want to start spending in the middle of a budget. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Zort?
you can kind of think of it in this way, like, when do you pay your property taxes?
Yep.
And so after you
Absolutely.
personally pay your property taxes, then shortly thereafter, the city gets it. And you
Right.
pay your, like, we file our income tax, right? So that's due tomorrow. So the city will get that a short time after that. So that's kind of how you can relate to it and bring it all together.
All righty.
Good point.
All minds are clear with the month end? All right, so I put the Ohio checkbook and Hinkle report on there, and I put the links so that everyone can go to it, you can view it. Sorry, you guys can't click the paper, but the websites are typed out exactly how I typed it in, and view it however you want and look at the reports. I had a note on that. Give me just a second. I was gonna pull this up on screen, but it would take a minute to open that and all do all that. So I'll let you guys click and play around with that at your leisure, and let me know if you have any questions about anything on there. But my meeting with Ms. Janetta said we were in good shape with everything, and her and I looked at it, played around with it a little bit.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Ms. Zorb?
So I do have a question about the Hinkle report, the 2024 Hinkle report. And it's on page 14. I don't know if anybody has it or not, but it's with regards to the Rumpke, the waste. And we've been talking about how we're probably not collecting enough and that needed to be looked into. But I guess, so I looked at 2020, so I did a records request and got I got like the last 4 years. So I compared 2023 to 2024, and it just looked a little hokey to me. So in 2023, we paid, so I can only assume that Rumpke substantially increased their costs. Because it says that their disbursements changed from 696,000 to $1 million. So it almost doubled. Is that,
On our Hinkle,
yeah,
I have to look into it. So you said page 14.
yeah.
Okay.
So, so that's the disbursements. They went from, I'll say 700,000 to $1 million.
Oh, right. We talked about this.
Right.
That's the 300 tax.
But that's not where my real question, I mean, because that is what it is, I guess. It's the Rumpke bill. So I can only just guess that that's accurate. But what my question is, the next line, because we weren't collecting enough, and then the bill was $1 million, so we were $486,000 in the hole, for lack of a better term. But here's where the hitch in my giddy up comes in. We transferred out $255,000. We were already behind $486,000, and we transferred out $255,000 more to make us $742,000 in the hole. So we were already negative, and we transferred out more.
No, remember, I don't know if you remember when you asked about this more towards the beginning of the year, Ms. Zorb. I think
I've
it was
never asked
around,
about this before.
well, maybe not these numbers, but it conceptually was the same. It was around the cleanup ordinance, and we were talking about, again, it's the one where you pay out versus what you bring in. And so what you're looking at the Hinkle is, do you remember us talking about the city garbage? We have, it's all in the same billing, but some of that is not residential garbage. That's actually the garbage for the city. So the city of North College Hill has their own garbage. So we have to dispose of, like, for the public works, we have to dispose of, so for example, like we have,
I hear what you're saying, but I want to tell you that there was no transfer out in the year before.
because we added a lot more. So one of the things that we've been happening in this influx of landlords and tenants, and which is, I'm working on this with Bill, to try to charge the landlords, because we are sending our public works department out. We hadn't talked about it, but since she's bringing it up, we'll address it. So like, we get reports on our website for public works to come pick up a TV or a couch out of somebody's yard. We're disposing of that. that actually should be composed, wrapped, and sat out to the street for Rumpke to do it. When we have to constantly put it in our dumpster and them to come up, and then the frequency in which they're coming, it made our garbage bill go through the roof. How we can recover some of that is to charge those landlords. If they're not responding to their properties within 48 hours, we need to assess a fee to them. To being able, currently, we're doing that for free.
But we transferred into the street levy fund.
I'm sorry?
We transferred that into the street levy fund.
You transfer what into the street levy
That
fund?
$255,000.
So your initial question was about the garbage and the increase of the garbage.
No,
Now-
my question is about the 250, we were already behind 400,000, and then we transferred out 255 additional thousand. So that made us,
In retrospect, in regard to the garbage?
yeah, from the waste.
Okay, so
That's what's
you,
on that's what's on page 14.
so they, so
And we
put-
transferred, according to this Hinkle report, we transferred it into the street levy fund,
so the street levy fund,
which is a
Is pub-
restricted fund.
now I'll have to check on that. No, you're also asking me questions about a Hinkle that is based on 24. But I will definitely check on why it transferred, but I do know that Public Works uses the street levy fund. So that may have been why it was transferred into there. But I'll have an answer for you. That's a good question. And this is, again, I'm not frustrated by the questions. I just want to make sure that I'm clear. That's why the transparency's out there. I want you to ask questions about things that are not clear.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Wilson.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Zorb, these questions are coming from a Hinkle report that's already completed, correct?
Yes, sir.
I'm just saying, it's completed already, right?
Yes, it's complete.
It's completed already,
I will
right?
say this, it's right to ask the question so you know the whys behind the woes.
Absolutely.
However, this, again, so I'll repeat because there's a little chatter. It's right to ask the question so you know the whys behind the woes. But this Hinkle report was accepted as a good report by Hamilton County.
And
It's even if it looks, you want to know the why, right? But even if it looks like it might be this or that, it's still a good report. Hamilton County reviewed this, saw all of our activity, and they're giving us a thumbs up. You can see that when you go to the link. However, if you have a question like this transfer of $255,000 into the street levy, I don't have any problem figuring out why that is happening. My guess, off the top of my head, just what I know how the flow of the resources go, we may be taking from those resources to fund up front and then putting that resources back. Because Public Works is the party responsible for going around and picking up things.
so, not, because I wasn't trying to be cut off, and I know you intend to cut
I'm
me
sorry,
off.
I did not.
But the purpose of asking that was just that, I wanted to, express the fact that this Hinkle report has already been completed and accepted, correct? Mm-hmm. And so, looking at these, taking in Ms. Zorb's question, I was just, trying to make sure that I had some clarity as far as the direction of her questions and where they were coming from. She is my coworker, so I wanted to make sure I understood the direction you were coming from. So you were just asking these questions based off of a completed report already.
Yeah, I didn't make
Yeah.
up these numbers. These numbers were provided.
No,
to
I'm
me.
just saying,
They're on the
so-
agenda for right now.
No, so, I was just wanting to make sure because, at the end of the day, the report's completed and we didn't get anything from the state saying that, it was,
Hang on.
out of the whack.
The state hasn't looked at this. The
It's
county-
Hamilton County, yeah.
County has looked at it. The state auditor has not seen this yet.
Okay, so,
Difference.
but I'm pretty sure Hamilton County will want to make sure we're in compliance with the state.
But it's just
Right.
a question.
Well, Hamilton County, yes.
I'm just asking a question.
She's just asking.
No, no, and I'm
I
just.
don't understand why I'm getting attacked.
So listen, I'm just asking a
Sorry, you
question
guys.
too.
Hold on, you guys. We are
Just
allowed
asking
to
a question,
all
too.
ask questions and allow each other to give an answer and clarity.
Miss-
So,
Madam Chair,
yes, ma'am.
to clarify, I do think Ms. Zorb is just asking questions. But
Yeah,
to-
I didn't
to-
see
To your,
any.
to Mr. Wilson, you're also right in that Hamilton County is never going to approve something that the state wouldn't. So even though the state hasn't actually did an audit, we will receive an audit. We're walking into an audit for 24 and 23 coming up. We haven't scheduled for it, but they have yet to look at these numbers. This is not going to be on their radar in terms of something. They look for other things underneath a microscope. Hamilton County has already kind of given us a bill of health.
Okay.
But to Ms. Zorb's point, she's just wondering, that doesn't make sense. That's a lot of money, $255,000 to be transferred in the street levy. So she's looking for clarity for that. So I will provide that. Right, Ms. Zorb?
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, I guess my bigger question is, if we were already in the hole, why would we make it more in the hole?
Because we have to budget for our own garbage. And we do budget for our garbage in our budget projections.
And I hear what you're saying, but that precedent is not in the previous years either. So I get that, but looking at the historical documents, that's not what's substantiated there.
Oh, Ms. Anderson just texted me. She's helping me to correct the statement. She says Hamilton County does not review the Hinkle, only the state auditor.
Right.
She turns it into Hamilton County.
Does that make sense?
So it's submitted into Hamilton County.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's got to be in compliance with the state. That's what it has to
But
be.
we have
Madam Chair.
received, so what you're seeing on there, if you look at there, it says, look at the second HTTPS. It says AFDRS.OhioAuditors.gov. So this report submitted through Hamilton County has gone over to the state, and they have then given us that. So when you click on it, I can't click on it right now just because of the way that the link is, but when you click on the link, all of that assessment is on the state of Ohio's page concerning our document that we submitted.
That link is just for the Ohio checkbook.
No,
No,
the
there's two
first
different
link
links.
is the Ohio checkbook.
The second link is
The second link is ohioauditors.gov. But it does, I mean, I don't know the
Madam Chair.
relevance.
I think Ms. Gaston
Oh, I'm
was
sorry.
before you.
I-
She's been patiently
Oh, right
waiting.
ahead.
I'm sorry.
I think these are just questions, and I think we're adding more time to our meeting by debating if the question is valid or not. All questions are valid. Ms. Dukestein said she was going to answer them.
Let's move forward.
Let's just move forward. That's how things happen. People start going back and forth, so.
Let me address it and see if Ms. Alexander had a question about anything.
So just for clarity, since this has gone to
And I
the
wrote it.
state, I just want to clarify that.
Yes, this is
Will
been
this
submitted.
be audited, or is this the end of it?
This is the end of the Hinkle. There's nothing about the Hinkle that is included on our audit. I received a checklist from Ms. Anderson quantifying all the things that we need to collaborate for the audit.
Okay. But
The Hinkle is
is
not a part of that.
But you will get back with us regarding
Yes, I will get
that?
back with you regarding Ms. Zorb's question. So I've already started collecting the things that kind of fall under my wheelhouse or umbrella. Ms. Anderson has also collected some of those things as well. One of the things that was on the list were your agenda minutes in meetings, which is why I sent that out, because that was on the checklist of things we needed to provide to the state auditor.
All right, that's it.
Ms. Zorb, Ms. Gaskins, I wrote down your questions to be included in next month's agenda.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Dukes.
I also wanted to point out to you, so there have been some kind of feedback, you know, I hear things as well, about the city not being up to date on the Ohio checkbook. And so we updated the Ohio checkbook. So it actually had not been updated since 2021. It is not required. So somewhere in the process, someone made the executive decision to no longer do it, because it was kind of put out there as a thing. And I think it's a really good source, especially because it kind of breaks down, according to department, for us to do it as a city. We kind of we're now putting it back out there. So it's updated as far as February and March. And Ms. Anderson has agreed to go back and do it at least up to the time that she was with us. So you'll have that as a source, which is why I encourage Ms. Chichester to put that on the agenda, so that you would have that and be able to see that, because it's also another space where we can just indicate that we're healthy.
Yeah. And thank you again to Ms. Anderson for going back and doing her due diligence. When did Ms. Anderson start with us?
I'm sorry?
What year did she start? So I just can know.
Ms. Anderson started in 2024.
2020. Oh, yeah. And it's not required, so is that something?
I think there is legislation.
The legislation within our charter.
I think there's legislation that started us on Ohio checkbook. Pat Hartzell was a staunch advocate of Ohio checkbook.
Is it?
God rest his soul.
We're doing it though. We're
Yes.
coming into
Yes.
compliance. So it was something that was out of, if Ms. Sorb is accurate in the fact that there is legislation out there, it was something that started well before me and long before me. It's like I said, 2021, but it doesn't mean that we don't want it. I mean, whether there's legislation out there or not, we want to be in
Want to
compliance. We
continue.
want to use that as a tool for both citizens and council members to use. And when I looked at all the information that it gives, it's just a really good informational source. Miss Underwood had reached out to me and asked me a question, and I'm like, go to Ohio checkbook. So, you
It
know,
creates
that tool is right
transparency.
at your fingertips. I love to be able to give citizens that. So I'm just kind of clarifying that we will be updating forward, and then there's going to be some kind of back updating as well.
Thank you. I think it does. I agree with you. It creates the transparency in our city that we've been looking for. So we'll continue to update that. All right, let's, Ms. Anderson and I talked about line item number 6, but she is not here for that update.
That's fine. I can help with that.
You'd want to explain? Okay. I get.
Was there a document sent out with that? No.
No, there wasn't.
Okay.
She wasn't, she didn't,
Oh,
she
wait a
said
minute.
she was just gonna give an update on it. She didn't give me a document on it.
I know you guys remember us saying, like, we'll kind of do a checkpoint review, and we won't have that big cleanup ordinance at the end of the year. We'll kind of go along and make sure the accounts are in good standing. We have a couple of things that need changes. I'm just looking for the email. Sorry, hold on a second.
I can forward it to you if you want me to.
Yeah, can you do that?
I am getting real aggravated with this computer.
Put a T in her name. That's not her name.
I can tell you one is what we talked about is there needs to be a line, and this is we had not previously had a line. So the police department has a line for overtime, and this is without me looking at the document, but I know this one is on there. Fire department has a line for overtime. Public Works has a line for overtime. We have a line for overtime. Anybody that's not salary has the potential to earn overtime based on their shift. So mayor's court needs an appropriation line for overtime. There are times when Ms. Toll, who is our mayor's court clerk, has to stay for court. And then what she's been doing is flexing her time, meaning that if she has to stay over one day, she stays under another day. There still will be consideration for her to continue to flex, but it definitely poses an issue because she doesn't actually have a backup. If there's nobody here in her spot, there has not been cross-training to the role that she plays to the city. There is some by Ms., I know her first name is Jenny. Hey. Where she can do some of the things, but Ms. Toll still comes back to most of all of her work. So I'm working on two things, getting her a backfill and getting some cross-training in there, which is why I talked about that before, like this is one of those issues. But there also needs to be, in order for us to add, we can't just add, administration just can't add a line. It can't just populate on what you see. So far, there's no resources in it. We haven't moved anything. That is a pause. And the reason that is a pause is because we can't just move money without your permission. We need to look at where the resources are, how they're being collected from mayor's court. I would like to start giving that. Ms. Toll is going to start coming and reporting on that to council so you can see how much money is being collected from mayor's court, how much of that is going into the general fund, what their expenses look like. She does send a report out to all of you all, but it's not real clear. So we're going to get a little bit more transparency in what mayor's court is doing, and then kind of use those resources being collected out of mayor's court to kind of determine how much, and also just how much she doesn't have to opt to flex. She's been willing to opt to flex. So all I'm asking right now is to create an appropriation line for overtime. I would have to come back to you to put money in it. So legally, I have to ask you to appropriate a line for that. That's what I'm asking for. Well, Miss Anderson and I talked about it, and this is what she recommended because it was across the board. Everyone else has a line, but there, and in tandem with myself talking with Ms. Toll and seeing the dynamic that it is with her position and how much she has to flex, and then the absence of her attendance and what that means for other departments trying to backfill, and the fact that she comes back to all of her work. Even if they're just literally taking the payment and stuffing it in the box, she still has to do all the real hard lead work behind processing the payment. And then the other appropriation is for,
I sent it to you.
the documents that are coming up are not.
She didn't send a document, she sent an email. I just resent it at 8:15. Ooh.
Oh, here we go. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
And then the other one was, oh, I forgot about this one. Yes, this is the other one. Okay, so this is the institutional knowledge. You know, when you have somebody that's in your position before you and you pass on another, so and you pass on to another person, there's just information that transfers from one person to another. Ms. Anderson did not have somebody overlapping with her, nor did I. And we were definitely overlapping. We did not have a previous person in the role to be able to deal with institutional knowledge, those things that were should be passed on. One of the things that got missed is the North College Hill purpose for bonds. So we have bonds. Those are the way that we have acquired or done some lending out, and so we have to pay interest on those bonds and a semi-annual payment. And so a line, we never budgeted for that line. The line is there. The appropriation line is there, but we never budgeted for anything. And so the annual cost is $6,525. And so we just need to take money from the general fund and put it in that line item so that we can pay those costs. So again, what we would have done before is wait to the end of the year and show you all these cleanups. But we're at that April point. So we decided, hey, let's talk about this now, so it doesn't look so large at the end of the year. And this is one area where we did not budget anything. It was there the year before. It was zero this year. Probably she nor I understood what that line was for. Now we are able to understand, and it's those bonds. Bonds are government bonds, are the bonds that we have out, or lending, what we've used as a lending source, and they have interest on them and they have annual payments, and so we need to pay that.
So do we have any bonds? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, we have bonds.
Madam Chair.
This is the cost for those. This is the interest cost for those, and the amount is 65.
25.
Yeah, 6525. And so if you guys, there's no legislation just yet. These are concepts. The two concepts that we're talking about is the
Overtime.
overtime line for Miss Mayor's Court. And then if you're in agreement with that, we will put this in a piece of legislation only with these two items on it and move it to council floor.
Madam Chair.
Do you guys, hold on, I was going to ask, do you guys want to talk about them together or talk about them individually as separate entities?
I have a question about the new line for the mayor's court.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Thorpe?
So, did I hear you say you're just going to create a line? You're not going to put money in it?
We're not. When we put money in it, we'll come back. Right now, they have to be two separate steps. I don't know if they've done that before, but we're not allowed to create a line without your permission.
Well, I knew that. I just didn't understand the
Concept of why we needed to do the money, and that's
why we wouldn't put money in it.
well, the reason because the money would be coming from mayor's court, and I don't have real clarity on the resources. Like, it's just Ms. Toll balances the mayor's court. She's doing that, like, she's literally doing some accounting stuff. She's balancing that, and then she writes the city a check each month for once she balances that. I need to dig into that and make an appropriate forecasting amount, and I cannot do that without knowing how that works. I don't think Ms. Anderson can do that without knowing how that works.
Right.
So two things I would like to do: dig into that, bring that clarity back, and then make a decision about how that money moves over. I talked to Ms. Toll, and so she's kind of right now building a quote flex bank, and when she has hours, and then she'll be able to take time off. And I don't want to take that option from her, but we should have an overtime option for her as well. That really is her choice. Thus far, she doesn't even want the time. She wants the time off of work.
No. So you'll come back to us when we have
Yeah.
so we just need to figure out if we are okay with creating the line item for the mayor's court overtime. And
Ms. Zorb is also right on that. Normally, we would just put money in there, but because that's like a hazy space, I will tell you that I don't know if it's time, but typically we haven't seen a lot of involvement or activity with the city administrators in that mayor's court space. And that is definitely, there's multiple things that need to be kind of looked at. And so I don't want to have any money moved over there without understanding truly what the inner workings are. So that's kind of why, that's my pause on that. That's my personal preference. But if you want me to move like $5,000 blanketly over there, you can name a price and I'll do that. And then we'll figure the rest of it out later.
thoughts?
That's your choice, your money. I mean, you know, city's money, how it's spent, your choice.
Would you rather put money in it now, since we're all discussing it, or would you rather wait and see what?
I don't see a reason to create a line item with nothing in it.
Okay, so you're for what amount would you like to move forward to it in it, if you want to create it or you don't want to create it?
I would look to Ms. Toll to even try to understand how much overtime
Yeah.
she does. Like,
And so that's,
I have no point of basis to come
that's
up with a
kind of
dollar
where I
amount.
was at with it
Yeah.
too. I had
She
asked her
couldn't-
about the
it
overtime.
changes.
And right now, she's in a preferential place of flexing.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some laws around, some employment laws around flexing, and I want to make sure we're within that. And if she goes outside of being able to flex that time at an appropriate time, we will need to pay her overtime. So if you kind of want to just give me a general number, I don't know, like I said, like $5,000. I don't know. If we don't use it, we will use it responsibly, only for her overtime.
Madam Chair.
I just don't have anything to set it on.
Base it on.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Wilson?
So, I mean, I'm not gonna tell you no lie. I'm not in the position, but to be honest, what is the position pay hourly? And then you will just base that on what normal overtime hours would come about.
Mr. Wilson?
She's on the salary ordinance.
She's on the salary, so that means she already got a set base pay.
She said she's on the salary ordinance.
Oh,
So I
okay.
think her hours, she can't say, I do 10 hours of extra overtime. It might be 10 hours this week, 5 hours next week, no hours, depending
sure
on how
it
she
depends
flex
on
her
the
time.
court
Yeah,
docket.
but then
Madam-
exactly.
Madam Chair.
So, and then her daytime duties. Yes, Mr. Wilson?
So I mean, this is just a suggestion, and I would just think to, put 40 hours in there, and pay her as the hours that she used. You know what I'm saying? If you put 40 hours in there, just the 40 hours in there, it's there, and if she used, the overtime, you just take it out of the 40 hours that's there.
So-
I would think you need more than 40. I would say if you were guesstimating, I would think $1,000.
So-
There you go.
A realistic number would be like $1,000 for the year.
It's not my choice alone, so I'm just bringing it to
Madam
council to
Chair?
see what we're going to do. Yes, Ms. Alexander?
Would that be $1,000 from here on out for the rest of the year?
Yeah, and I think
Or would
that's-
that be the same amount, just like, say, next year? Would
Probably
that
be-
be a safe amount? I mean, I think more than I don't know offhand like how much she makes, but, it's considering the docket. I would just think more than $1,000.
Can we just reach out to her and get a rough
Yeah.
idea?
I thought they-
I mean, we're just,
I
Well,
thought
that's
her
the
and Ms.
thing.
Anderson
If
had a
she has
conversation
any
about it.
say in it,
Right.
what
Yeah,
she's
she
been,
said she didn't want
she doesn't even actually want overtime, but she's
labor laws. dictate that
she's
we-
doing what she is has had to do, but there are some laws that would prohibit her to continue to function that way. So if you're asking Ms. Toll, she said, I'm telling you what she said, I would rather flex the time.
Right.
But there are labor laws that say that we cannot continue to operate that way.
Yeah, there you go. Just put $2,000 in
I
it.
agree.
Okay.
There you
So-
go. $2,000.
Yes, we're going to
Be done
create
with
the
it.
line item, and $2,000 it seems to be
Be
the
done with it. Yeah, that'll
I
work.
think that's.
everybody in
work.
alignment.
That should
Little-
cover.
And then that way she could still flex.
Flex, yeah.
And then
Well,
she also
just
has
got
the
to think of
option.
it this way: if she was in that position, and that position, somebody else might
gets
want
it.
the overtime. So we have to. They wouldn't. Maybe they're not looking to flex. That's how they make their extra money. So we have to make sure we're paying to that position.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Gass.
you brought up a really good point. It could be someone else.
That's
So,
exactly what I was
Ms.
telling her.
Dukestein originally said 5,000. I think it would be safe to go with 5,000, and if it's used, great. If it's not, then it's not.
It's there.
Yeah, because
Because then what's going to happen is that fund is going to be negative, and then we'll have to figure out
Yeah.
the end of the year.
What do you
So,
think?
I think
all right.
Madam Chair.
I don't even know who that was a tie.
It was a tie.
Ms. Zorb, your ladies first.
well, thank you. My question was, will that money come out of the general fund? Will it be pulled from the general fund or from the mayor's court budget?
So that's what I was trying to research. So mayor's court writes us a check to general fund every month. It looks like this month, it looked like $65,000. So I have to look at, should we take it out of the general fund because they're already pouring into, or do we take it out of the mayor's court fund before they put a check over to us for the month to balance? And I would like to speak to the $5,000. I know you all are not, don't have her salary or her hourly amount right in front of you, but I do think 2,500 would be enough for the year, especially since we're already like in the 4th month. I was just throwing out a number in there, but thank you for bringing that. So $2,500 would probably be enough to cover the overtime for the rest of the year. And I will let you know as a follow-up where the money comes from, whether it comes from the general fund or mayor's court. There are 2 options at how to do it: to take it out of mayor's court before the check comes over to the general fund, or write the check to general fund and then just take it out of the general fund. Both are acceptable. It's just preference for accounting purposes.
Yes, we're creating a line. And now I guess we need to, I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I was doing math in my head, but talking out loud, sorry.
33. I knew what you did. I did. We were doing the math overtime rate in our head. So, and we both were like on the same page. So I knew it. I thought she was reading my mind for a second there.
I do not have that capability.
So back to business. Okay, so yes, we're creating a line item, but we need to figure out if that's going to come out of the general fund or the mayor's court. And the rate, we moved it from 2 to 5, but we said we're moving it back to 2,500. Okay, let me mark that out. So I think that's something we need to answer, mayor's court or general fund. And then once we get that answered, we would all be in alignment of, unless it's like a disagreement if it's one versus the other, or you just want to know for clarification.
Clarification.
Madam Chair,
Okay. Yes, Mr. Wilson.
do it really matter where it come from? As long
Yes.
as they get it.
No, it with accounting, it matters, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, did we take,
Well-
hold on. So I want to make sure, because I asked the question.
Yeah,
Did
and I
it
was
matter?
gonna
Y'all all
explain.
jumped and said, yeah,
No.
it does. But I'm just trying to understand this.
Mm-hmm.
So from what Ms. Dukestein just said, either we could take it out from the mayor's court,
Mm-hmm.
and then, say we get the general fund amount.
Mm-hmm.
Or we could wait until the mayor's court send it over to general fund and then take it out and put it in there.
So when you do your budget for your home, you say you have 300 a month for groceries, then you're really not eating if you look at this day and age. But just for example, 300 for grocery and 300 for light. If you go over on one or the other, you're going to have to pull for that. But you want to know exactly what resources you're pulling from when you're doing, especially when you're doing the budget for the end of the year and projecting for 2026. You need to know if I need to increase my light bill or if I need to increase my grocery bill to figure out where the disconnect in the deficit is.
Well, it's
That makes,
well, it sounds.
This report, it has to be documented in this report.
I mean,
yes,
that's
yes.
understandable.
But I was just trying to give a
it's
little level
understandable,
of
but
explanation.
What it sounds like is that it sounds like we're saying, how do we go figure this out? Who gonna pay the bill, mom or dad?
And it matters.
And I'm
it
just
matters because
saying.
it depends.
Right,
Dad might be
okay.
responsible one thing, and
Oh,
mom might be
okay,
responsible.
but-
We
but
need to
what
figure
I'm-
out who's not
but-
paying the right bill.
But what I'm saying, if mom and dad both gonna pay the same amount, do it really matter?
Yes.
I apologize, my stomach just.
Madam Chair,
Who said that?
I did.
Oh, I thought it was you, Miss.
So for accounting purposes and how we have to report, it does matter. But if you're asking, like, is it all coming out of the same pot? Essentially, yes, it is.
Yes, it is. That's what I
Yes,
thought.
essentially.
Because the mayor's court makes way more and contributes to the city, it's a source of income for the city. And so whether we take it out on the front end or the back
Back
end,
end.
it's still gonna
Still coming out.
essentially come from the same space. But how do we document that is where we stay in the right space for compliance.
Well, I was just saying
And
that it didn't
transparency.
matter who we took it from because we're going to take it. If we just, are we going to take it from the general fund or are we going to take it from the mayor's court? That's all we trying to figure out. Who we going to put on the documentation that we took it from?
So what answers that question is being compliant, which way keeps us in the best format in terms of compliance. And
Right.
that I'm still researching, and I'll bring back to you guys for
Okay.
clarity.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
So-
That works.
That clears up the mayor's court appropriation. So I guess to reiterate, 2,500, creating the line, and we just need to figure out which fund we're going to take the money out of. So as it stands for the 6525 for the bonds, are we creating that line item or?
Plus you said the line item was already there.
It is.
Oh, well, we need
It's
to
to fund
put
it.
put the funds in it. Are we in agreement to that? Or you guys want to discuss that a little more?
We don't have
'Cause
a
if-
choice on that one.
We
yeah.
don't have a choice.
Well, I know we
gotta
don't,
pay
we
our
do have a
bills.
choice. I mean, we can say, there's discussion
They're gonna
around
start,
it. I mean,
It's called a debt.
Madam Chair,
you know what I mean. Yes, Ms.
I
Alexander.
can't remember, she might have said, but where was that funding coming from?
General fund.
That also was coming from the general fund, okay.
And this was something there was zero in 2024, so we couldn't prepare for that in 2025 where we didn't
No,
realize.
we missed it.
We missed it?
It was a miss.
Oh.
So it was there for 2024, and then it's just a line, it's just numbers. We didn't know what those numbers
Was for.
was for. And so then when we looked, it was like,
Found out.
oh, when they required to us to pay, we're like,
When you
oh.
got the bill, then
Yeah,
you
then we
realized.
know, like, okay, so we searched the bills, and there was prior precedence for that coming out of that line item. So then that's when we knew, like, okay, the estimate for 2025 is going to be the $6,000. And so we need to move money there.
So, okay. And,
Bonds for the city center roof.
oh,
Mm-hmm.
say that again for
If
the
I-
camera.
If I had to guess.
That's what that
There are
bond's for.
other bonds, it may be for that, but
one
we're
for the-
almost actually we'll be finished paying for that this year.
There was a 7-year, it's a 7-year loan
Instead
or
of
bond,
30.
whatever.
For half the
But
roof.
there was a 30 on the Public Works building, so I'm sure we're still paying on that.
So we got bonds for both, and we also have some bonds that like the PD and fire did, so. But we're shrinking our debt. So that's also how you make your money go further when you don't have as much to pay out. But we picked up a larger Rumpke bill, so.
All righty. We're moving along, okay.
Ain't no-
Old business? The electric Q4 2024 site host report update. I think we asked where those funds were going, and I'm not sure. I'm sorry, ladies, I forget who asked. Was
Ms.
it Ms.
Zord.
Alexander?
No,
Ms. Zord?
Nope.
Somebody asked, inquired
Right.
about where the funds were going, but did we have an answer for that?
So we do have a line item. I'll send it out. But I wanted to say we did not actually receive a deposit for Q4. And so when I talked to the Electrata folks, unless it is a certain amount, they don't transfer it. They just hold it. And so then we'll see like a larger deposit for Q4 and Q1 of this year. So I don't know what the mark is, but if it's below a certain threshold, they don't deposit it, because we hadn't actually seen a deposit since October. And when I asked them why, because I was actually digging into the line, so I had the line, but then I was like, hey, well, we didn't see the deposit, even though you gave us the reporting that we actually earned money. He said, even though you earned money, you did not earn money at the threshold in which they make the deposit. So when you put Q4 with Q1 of 2025, then they'll make another deposit. So the specific line, I'm sorry, I have to email.
Go charge your electric cars.
Yeah.
I don't
I
have.
know we'll have more of this one because my car's electric and I've
I
been
don't know if
charging
you
them.
heard Ms. Zor, but a tree fell on my car during the last storm.
I did not.
But I will tell you this. I will tell you this. You get more money on those chargers depending on how fast they're charging. Ours is a level 1. And so we need to kind of, I was asking him and he's getting back with me what it looks like to upgrade. Cause when if we were to put them on the apps, you want to at least have a level 2. Yeah. And that is, if you're sitting there.
You got the basic.
Yeah. You literally, it'll take you 7-8 hours to get a full charge.
All right.
And so you want to amp that up to like a level 2 or 3. And then not only do you get to charge more, you get more takers.
Yeah.
So that's part of the reason why our sales are down with that. It's actually a very good way to make money. So I'm asking them what it would take to upgrade our systems.
So, okay, so we're
Madam
going to get,
Chair?
yes, ma'am. Ms.
The
Alexander.
ones that are at Kroger's, are those not ours? Or those belong to Kroger's?
Yes, that's
Oh,
private
I know they
property.
got the good ones, huh?
They don't actually.
They
They're
don't?
only a level 2.
Oh,
They're
because
better
I see
than
those
ours.
People who come and pull in, and by the time I come out of Kroger's,
They're free, too.
They done.
They're free.
Oh,
Oh yeah, right. Well, I will tell you though, if you're trying to get to an electric charger, ours are pretty inexpensive. Like, so it's still a deal.
so we're going to,
And the
look
ones
into
at Kroger's are
upgrading.
always broke down. So, another plug for us.
We love our partners.
We do.
So we're looking to upgrade the chargers from a level 1
I'm
to
gonna
the
look
level 2
into
and 3
it
to
to
see
see
how
if it's
much.
any exhaustive cost or if it's a small cost, because I
Okay.
definitely think that people would be much more bought into them. We can advertise them across different apps so that
Thought
when
they already
people are
are.
looking for them, like, most people have an app on their phone, and when they're looking for chargers, it'll say level 3 or level 2, and then people are flocking to ones that charge faster. No one wants to be sitting duck. So maybe a little bit more. The first step was probably getting them
All right.
in. I don't know if electrical cars were as
Oh.
popular.
Don't kill the messenger, but we're going to move to new business. And I move that we need to move into executive session to give an update. So
Today?
pursuant to Ohio Revised Code section.
Can I do other new business before?
And I have it all.
Absolutely, because that way we can adjourn
Yes,
after we come back.
please.
So, thank you. Go ahead.
So
Ms.
actually, this is a note, so again,
Mhm.
to use your words, don't shoot the messenger. This is from Miss Underwood. She says, I think she's already mentioned this, so I'm repeating her. She said she wants to see what's going on in the financial system. No reports, exclamation point. She wants the ability to see in the checkbook. And not only the Ohio checkbook. She wants view-only permissions.
So with Finance Authority, there's only so many people that can have logins. I already talked to her over the phone, and I told her this. I hope she's listening because we talked about it over the phone. She told me that she wanted to see the breakdowns of the different reports. The only thing I can do is give her a very general report from Finance Authority. We're pulling everything that she's asking view for, but you just view only. There's a limited number of people that can have view, and I will double check with Finance Authority to see, but if I was to give Miss Underwood access, I think it would only be fair to give all council members view only privileges. So I can't just give one person. If there was one council member that had it, it would be
Fair to everyone.
budget and finance chair or
If it was
co-chair.
view only, could it be one general login that we all look at?
I'll check at that. And
Madam Chair?
I wrote
I
it down
doubt that
too.
we would all be logged in at the same time. So,
But also, in order to access Finance Authority, you have to be on the VPN. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So that brings up the other thing that you all did not talk about was the computers. But you cannot do access, a login authority, Finance Authority on your phones. You cannot do it on any outside device. It has to be your, then from there, that would warrant you all getting devices. Because as there was some talk of whether you all will do like a cloud or even Teams, as Ms. Zorb said, which you guys still are on the table and not talking about. I don't think it's the safest space, but if that's what you decided, you would not be able to do that, or you would have to come up here and be on one of the devices here. Because VPN is absolutely required.
Ms.
for that.
Dukestein, that was on my next, I was gonna put the computers on our May
That's
agenda,
actually in Ms.
'cause I
Underwood's
knew we
committee.
had- Oh, it's in her committee? Oh, okay, well, cool, I don't
Yeah.
have to worry.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Zorb.
I know you've forbidden us from talking to employees. Are we allowed to, may I talk to our IT guy? And try to-
Tom?
Yes, and try to understand how we can make that happen, or what kind of PCs we need, just, am I allowed to talk to him?
Yeah, just email him.
I'm asking your permission. I know how to get in touch with him. I'm asking permission.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Gaston.
I do have old business. It's really quick to Ms. Dukestein, and she's just going to say yes.
Okay.
So, if I am not mistaken, at one of our past meetings, you had mentioned that you were going to share with us a document about the 1500 building. And I know it's not here today, but is it possible to just have it emailed to us?
I can have it emailed, and I didn't share it because this agenda was loaded. And we had just passed the legislation, so I asked Ms. Chichester if she had it on there, if she would forego it. But I can send the document. I'll send you up the new they have to check again and kind of look and see what it's going to look like. But we do have new quotes in for where we are now as opposed to where we were a year ago, and the continued damage. But so is that what you want?
Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you. Yeah, I removed it because I figured we needed to, and adding that would have
Been all night.
yes. So, everybody ready for this now? Don't look at me like that, Ms. Alexander.
This is going to be super quick, promise.
Pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22, I move that council enter executive session under Section G1 to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, or the investigation of charges, complaints against a public employee, official, licensed, or regulated individual unless the public employee, licensee, or regulated individual requests a public hearing. And I think we're supposed to vote.
Call roll.
Call roll.
Hang on. I'd like to second that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Zorb. All right, I'm going to call the roll. Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Gaston,
Yes.
Latanya, yes.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
All right, we're going to go into the executive session. Thank you, guys.
Take my bag with me.
we're back from executive session.
Wait a minute, is Shelby, you good?
Are you? Sorry. Sorry, I'm just trying to hurry up. And move to a motion to adjourn the Budget and Finance Committee meeting. We did all the new business, old business. There was nothing else. As always, questions and concerns could be emailed directly to me. Due to our time restraint, my email address is at the bottom. I need to remove Ask Council because we removed that email box. So don't email Ask Council, email myself or a member of council directly. All right, everybody, go in peace. All minds are clear. Have a good evening. We are closing at 9:07.